So we are in the heart of Walthamstow in a place called Cllr Place, which was a cut-through route for many motorists who would use this route to get into other parts of Walthamstow. As part of the Enjoy Waltham Forest programme, this area has been completely transformed and was closed off to traffic. More recently, we've seen further investment coming into this space through the government's Levelling Up Fund programme, of which Walthamstow received £17.2 million funding. Behind me, what you see is what has previously been known as the EMD Cinema. This is a building that the council acquired in 2019. It was acquired in the same year that we were named as the first London Borough of Culture. And our reasons for bringing the site forward is we want to restore it back to what it once was, which was an entertainment venue, a space where we saw theatre, film, performance, comedy. And so we are working in partnership with Soho Theatre to bring this site back into use. This is a £30 million investment by the council, which we feel will have huge cultural benefits. Not just will this make Walthamstow a destination for people to come who want to see theatre or comedy, it will also enhance a community offer for local residents to come in and participate in cultural programmes throughout the day. It will also, we hope, be a catalyst for the nighttime economy, not just for Walthamstow, but much more widely for the whole of Waltham Forest, with people coming from far and wide to use the theatre as well as use the local restaurants and the cafes. In 2019, we were awarded a nighttime enterprise zone pilot by the GLA. And as part of this programme, we saw a number of interventions designed to boost the nighttime economy. We saw businesses staying open a lot later, we saw artists organising events right across Walthamstow, and as part of the feedback received from businesses following the pilot, what they saw was a significant increase in trade, a lot more footfall across the town centre, and we also saw a reduction in some of the sort of community safety related issues around fear of crime. And we're hoping to build on that pilot through the introduction of Soho Theatre into Walthamstow, with real benefits coming back in for the nighttime economy, very much building on from the work we saw in the nighttime enterprise zone pilots. What we see behind me here is Eastfield House. This was previously a derelict garage and pram shed site, which was certainly attracting a lot of antisocial behaviour and crime and causing lots of problems for the wider neighbourhood. The council made a decision to bring forward a development. Initially the plans were to bring forward 50% affordable homes, and as we came towards the completion of this development, the private sales market had completely dried up with the scrapping of the Help to Buy scheme. And at that time we worked with the GLA to bring in further affordable housing grant to ensure that this development came forward as a 100% affordable development, something that we are very proud of. This is one of the council's direct delivery schemes and really has responded to a local need. So what we have here is a number of social rent homes for people who most need them, as well as a number of shared ownership homes. And what we know from the work of our Affordable Housing Commission is many of our local residents do take up the opportunities from shared ownership properties. And so the social rent definitely speaks to local need, as well as the shared ownership speaking to the needs of Waltham Forest residents. This site was previously the council's social services offices, 3-4-storey building. What we now have is the council's first direct delivery development called Skyline. What we have here is 91 residential units, 50% affordable housing. Many of these units in this development are family-size units. Alongside the homes, we have the University of Portsmouth, who have occupied the basement and the ground floor. At the front of the building and at the rear of the building, we have nursery provision. For me, this is an example of a fit-for-purpose, well-designed building, which is sort of very much focused around energy efficiency with air source heat pumps, as well as solar panels, which ensure that we are reducing carbon emissions as well as lowering bills for residents. Having University of Portsmouth coming into the borough is something that we are very, very proud of. It opens up opportunities for lots of our young people in terms of education development, career opportunities, as well as really complements the growth that we have seen here. What I think that demonstrates is that we are relentlessly focused on bringing forward homes for the residents that most need them, as well as the wider infrastructure to support those homes around education, health and cultural infrastructure. Our local plan sets a target of building 27,000 homes over the next 15 years, bringing forward 1,000 square metres of employment space, creating thousands of jobs for our local residents as well as apprenticeships. But our local plan doesn't just focus on homes and jobs. There's also a huge focus on improving air quality, biodiversity, net gain right across the borough, flood mitigation, exemplar design. So we have a range of SPDs along our local plan that are coming forward. The key one for me is around exemplar design. There are others around industrial intensification, as well as retrofit and Leighton Mills, which is one of our big growth sites in the south of the borough. I believe we're the only London borough that is building above the London plan target. So the London plan target sets a target for Forest to build 1,200 homes annually. Our local plan sets a target of 1,800 homes annually. The inspectors, through the examination process, agreed that Waltham Forest had the evidence to bring forward 1,800 homes alongside the infrastructure that will support those new homes coming forward. The key difference around the London plan target and our local plan target is the small sites allocation. So at a local level, we believed we had very strong evidence around small sites to take us up to 1,800 homes a year. The inspectors agreed with our feedback, and on that basis, full council has now adopted that plan. So what we have is the most up-to-date local plan in the country, which provides a very clear framework for investors coming into the borough around what our expectations are, as well as some of the key strategic sites and what the expectations are for those sites. Industrial land within Waltham Forest historically has played a key part around jobs in this borough. So certainly along Lee Valley, we have vast amounts of industrial land. A lot of it is no longer fit for purpose. And so within our policies, through the local plan, what you see is industrial intensification. And we saw an example of that from a recent application we received at Black Horse Road from Black Rock. And as part of the application, we retain the industry, but see intensification with homes coming forward, approximately 1,600 homes coming forward, the creation of 1,000 new jobs, as well as a health centre and a local park. And that for me is an example of how we can use industrial sites better. So absolutely retaining those industrial sites, but ensuring they are fit for purpose, as well as bringing forward much needed housing and wider amenities. I feel in terms of Labour Party's policy, there's a big focus on industry within London, but right across the country. And I don't see a reduction in industrial space as part of any future policies. I see very much what we've done at Black Horse Road, an intensification of those spaces to allow for different uses. In 2012, we were awarded £30 million from the GLA to invest in cycling infrastructure across the borough. And initially, when you go through that process of consulting residents in closing some of their streets and narrowing some of our roads, there was a lot of pushback. And you go about trying to engage with people and work with them. But ultimately, it's a big change for people, and it can be difficult to take everyone along with you on that journey. But for a number of different reasons, it's the right thing to do. And so politically, you've got to hold your nerve and drive through those changes. For future generations, you know, the benefits around air quality, the benefits around improved cycling infrastructure, and ensuring that people who want to take up cycling but don't because of safety issues primarily are now taking up cycling in larger numbers. And it can sometimes be seen as short-term pain politically, but long-term gain. And long-term gain, again, not just around health inequalities, but also around air quality, as well as a much more pleasant public realm. And so a lot of the changes we made as part of the Mini Holland programme over the last 10 years have been segregated cycling, low traffic neighbourhoods, many roads that have been closed off to traffic that were rat runs. So, for example, my street used to see in excess of 4,000 journeys. It had an LTN installed, and those journeys are down to the lower hundreds, I would say now. I've got young children, we can go out, we can cross the roads a lot more safely. The volume of traffic is significantly reduced. I certainly feel a lot more comfortable in that space. It's not just been about improvements to cycling infrastructure. We've also seen significant biodiversity net gain. So alongside these changes in terms of road closures and LTNs, you see the introduction of pocket parks, new trees being planted, a whole planting programme alongside the cycling infrastructure changes that we have seen. We see huge cycling parking provisions at all of our transport hubs. In the first iteration, we ran out of capacity, and then we had to build additional cycling parking facilities at our transport hubs. And we really are starting to see some of the successes of these quite tough decisions we made many years ago. And I would very much say it was politically driven at that time. These are incredibly tough decisions that, again, I would say are difficult choices in the short term, but certainly the right choices in the long term. Walthamstow Village was the first area in our borough that saw LTNs introduced. And the feedback from local businesses is that they've seen an increase in trade. If you go out into Walthamstow Village, it's absolutely buzzing in terms of active travel. So there's a lot more people walking about on many of the streets that are closed off to traffic. So the main street for Walthamstow Village, Alford Road, what you see is a lot more outdoor seating, kids playing in those areas. And it's become a lot more pleasant environment for residents living and working in that area. It was an area which saw rat running between some of the main streets within the borough, specifically Forest Road, Leabridge Road, and Hoe Street and Chernow Street. All of those routes have been closed off to vehicular traffic. And on the whole, I believe Walthamstow Village is a much better place with the changes that have taken place under the Mini Holland programme. So what I don't say is actually it's the area that I'm a ward councillor for.
Oh, right.
So I saw firsthand the pushback and the protests and the slamming of doors when you knocked on people's houses for their vote. It didn't materialise in any political loss of votes at the election. So unlike Uxbridge, for us in Waltham Forest, what we saw was a 3% net gain in votes at the election following
the changes rather than a net loss. So that in some ways sort of emboldened us to go further with our program. What we saw was just a continuous extension of that right across the borough. Just the sheer kilometres of segregated cycling we've now got in the borough is, I would say, right up there in terms of London, and the quality of it is really impressive. I've seen boroughs where they use the cones as the segregating sort of barrier. For us, we've got like what I would describe as proper segregated cycling that we just saw on Hoe Street, and that works so much better. The cones I've observed in Tower Hamlets, for example, where vehicles can come and park in between the cones, and so you end up with a situation where it's not a proper segregated cycling lane, because there are certain hours of the day where you've got vehicles parked on those cycle lanes. That's not the case in Waltham Forest. The vast majority of our cycling, segregated cycling lanes, are completely separate sort of lanes for cycling, which don't double up as car parking space. We don't believe the two can coexist. So we've seen a net reduction in car parking spaces right across the borough. But the important point is, you retain the loading facilities for businesses on some of those side streets. You prioritise segregated cycling on some of those main roads, and you prioritise customer parking in some of those side streets, as well as some of these main town centre car parks, rather than the residential streets. So this car park, we see this being sort of major car park for quite a wide radius of what we would describe as the Walthamstow town centre. And what you've seen is the smaller car parks right across the borough being transformed into housing. So actually a car park just opposite this site now has 500 much needed homes on there. I would much rather prioritise homes over car parking spaces. London streets just weren't built for the number of cars that are now on them, and the numbers in terms of car ownership, in terms of the trajectory, means something's got to shift. And to help that shift happen, we've got to create the infrastructure and the environment for people to make that modal shift. And again, that's the feedback we're getting. The biggest barrier to people taking up cycling is safety. So if you can create a safe environment, future generations, existing people will cycle more.